Gird your loins, true believers. The Snow White premiere is almost here, and I'm going to show you not only how Disney is going out of their way to shut down Rachel Zegler, but how, once this fart in the wind is past, so too will her career, once and for all. And we'll show you the receipts.
Weird.
Before we begin, I really must protest.
About what?
There's a disturbing little man cavorting about, abusing my good name. So for a while, I'm going to go by Gouda Parmesan.
Parmesan. Gross.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I'm not calling you that.
But I love cheese.
So after seeing multiple trailers getting ratioed into absolute oblivion on YouTube, Disney understandably has been very keen not to spend any more money on this impending disaster, choosing to use a Super Bowl ad slot for a strange and generically off-putting hoist for Disney Plus instead. But when the Oscars came along, free is a pretty good price when you own ABC. So Gal and Rachel were thrust onto the stage together to present an award, and the barely contained hostility, especially on Zegler's face, made most of us kind of cringe into our collective couches. I know I did. We've seen it a million times. Usually when a pair of presenters come out, especially if they've recently done a big movie together, like these two have, they'd come out arm in arm, they'd be laughing and smiling, but these two didn't even look at each other, not once, not even a glance. There was no pre-scripted banter, just right to the point.
Zegler's grimace is so tight and forced, it looks like her face is going to split open.
For those that need a little backstory here, this goes way beyond Zegler's bashing of Snow White. So just to boil it down to the very brass tacks, on one side, we have an entitled, rich, mean girl who thinks she has the Middle East figured out, versus an actual Israeli who actually served in the Israeli Defense Force. Let me emphasize here, this has never been a political channel and it never will be. It's just really kind of interesting that Rachel has hung her hat on representation and authenticity to justify her casting in roles she was never suited for, only to now disregard and insult her co-star's experience and truth when it suits her.
They're like, oh, awards, do they really matter? At the end of the day, this is a story of representation, and it matters. People just fail to recognize that, like, at the end of the day, everybody on this carpet is a person with feelings.
Everyone except Gal Gadot, apparently.
I feel like it's none of my business. Ah!
I mean, isn't she supposed to be progressive and accepting of everyone's perspectives? I mean, really? Yeah. Now, on a personal note, Rachel Zegler will always have a special place on this channel. Her mouth got us monetized. And as far as I can tell, it's the only good thing she's done. Back in my viral video about her, I made the assertion that Disney had essentially hung her out to dry, that they had not been giving her the proper guidance she needed to be successful navigating the political landscape of Hollywood. Basically, I was giving her the benefit of the doubt. And she's made it very, very clear since then that that is not the case. Not only does she clash with her co-stars, she also lashes out at her fans with a nauseating smugness that will make your skin crawl.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business. Thanks.
Disney has made it abundantly clear to everyone, including Hollywood at large, that they cannot control her. So much so that the mouse axed the UK premiere completely.
What the deuce? Are you serious?
A source told Mail Online Disney are already anticipating an anti-woke backlash against Snow White and have reduced the media schedule to just a handful of tightly controlled press events. They've taken the highly unusual step not to host a London premiere for the film and are minimizing the amount of press questions that Rachel Zegler gets.
Wow. They're actually throwing her under the bus. Usually this would be hidden under a bunch of cloudy corporate euphemisms.
Or copium, like how Rachel is trying to reframe the response to her slamming the original film. In an interview with Vogue Mexico, Zegler said she thinks the criticism was due to the fans' love of the original. I interpret people's feelings about this film as a passion for it, she said, adding that it was an honor to be part of something that people feel so passionate about.
Still not taking accountability. At least she stopped slamming it.
Yeah, the fans are passionate. It's like inviting her over to your house and she takes a dump on your carpet. You yell at her and she responds, aren't you awfully passionate about this, as she cops another squat. Yep, no apologies, no walking it back, just a statement that basically says...
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business. Thanks.
Meanwhile, Gal, who's been professional and quiet this whole time, has finally taken the gloves off. Shout out to WDW Pro, who brought this video from JTV to our attention.
My name is Gal. I'm a mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter, an actress. I'm Israeli, and I'm Jewish. I grew up in Rosh Ain, in the center of Israel. My mother was the daughter of a Holocaust survivor. Her father, my grandfather, Avraham Weiss, may he rest in peace, was born in what was then Czechoslovakia. He was the only one in his family who survived. His father died fighting for the Czech army when the Nazis invaded, and his mother and brother were murdered in the gas chambers of Auschwitz. He came to Israel with nothing and built a life for himself. And despite the horrors he endured, he always taught me the values of love, compassion, and tolerance.
Regardless of where you land politically, that's some heavy-duty stuff. Stuff that an entitled teen plucked right out of high school to be in a Steven Spielberg film can't compete with. As promised, I have one last clue that her career is actually over once Snow White is forgotten, regardless of how good it is or how epic her portrayal is. 1. By canceling the premiere, Disney is sending a message to the entire Hollywood community that she is uncontrollable. She will never be allowed near a Disney project again, considering how much money her mouth has cost them. If this had happened with a studio whose pockets weren't as deep, she may have very well bankrupted them. 2, she's never had a successful movie. The Hunger Games is the closest she's ever gotten, and it was the least successful of the franchise. If you want a sneak peek into her future, we already saw it, but most of you missed it.
This is going to be epic.
Last December, the film Y2K hit theaters.
Never heard of it.
That's my point, actually. It was a horror comedy about Y2K starring Zegler, and what was her understanding of what it was about?
What did y'all know about Y2K growing up?
I feel like it had mostly been used to describe a certain aesthetic. I feel like it was more used as an adjective to describe things, like, oh, that's a super Y2K outfit. For like clothing, music, era of films, era of time.
Remember, to be fair, this was before she was born, but having lived through it, there were people who had some genuine anxiety about it. It was not an aesthetic. It was a genuine concern about something really bad potentially happening. Power grids shutting down, airplanes falling out of the sky. It gave us some great shows like the X-Files spin-off Millennium, which capitalized on those fears. But Rachel and the crew not understanding what this film fundamentally should have been about is not the point. The point here is that it was made for $15 million.
The same amount that Godzilla Minus One was made for.
And it only made a little over $4 million.
Bloody hell.
More importantly, no one had ever heard of it. No one knew it was there. Rachel's name not only didn't carry any weight on the marquee to draw people in, it had a negative effect as seen in the reviews. She has become the new poster child for box office poison. So barring something absolutely spectacular just popping out of her mouth, which as we know is a distinct possibility, it's not outside the realm of imagination, I kind of foresee that there's only one more video involving her as we dive headfirst into the nightmare fuel of the live-action Snow White. But after that, I'd say it's safe to say her 15 minutes are up. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments and stay fresh, cheese bags.